I spent a lot of time in the book. I would say there are 2 books in the Word that will explain the most clear and direct, scandalous revelation of the cross, the book of Romans and the book of Galatians. The book of Romans was written to those who knew or should know, and maybe they've forgotten, or maybe they're just in ignorance. The book of Galatians was written to those who had a clear revelation of the cross but were bewitched. And that's frightening. That is really frightening. So the kind of the overall premise of the book of Galatians is, I'm going to share mostly on that, but it's the intimidation that can come from those who are established, those who have big ministries, those who are from the mother church, wherever that is. In this case, the mother church was Jerusalem and all the leadership that was connected there. Okay, so wherever that Jerusalem is now, for you, whatever background you come from, some of you may not have any connection with the church body or history. Some of you may have very, deep ties that are still connected there. And, those are avenues of intimidation. And that's why it's important for each one of you to be persuaded on your own. Who Christ is and what he's done. Christ and him crucified. It's kind of a startling revelation when some are, they're completely taken up with the Gospels, which is fine. But the Gospels end with the work that he was sent to do. The Gospels end with his death and burial and resurrection. The book of Acts is, the beginnings of the outflow of that and the immense stirring. I don't even know what is the word that happened to the religious system of that day. The foundation that the religious system was based on was completely taken away, and a new one in its place, and there were few that recognized it. Very few. You got to get that. There are very few men and women on the earth that recognized what took place. And yet there were 2,000 years of preparation. 2,000 years of preparation. A people should have been prepared. And there were very few ready when he appeared. And very few that made it through that actually understood by revelation what happened to him and the magnitude of his crucifixion. And that's the viewpoint from which Paul takes up his discourse with the Galatians, because the leadership was being intimidated, and the leadership had a temporary, vacillation, a temporary hesitation, and they participated in, one of the terms he uses is hypocrisy, and we're talking about the apostle Peter. And even Barnabas, when he says in Galatians, even Barnabas caved in. Barnabas was the one that brought Paul in to the disciples. Barnabas was the one that recognized something on Paul and went and aligned himself with Paul, and they became comrades, and he brought Paul in. And he and Paul talked together. They traveled together. Barnabas heard and saw firsthand, not just heard a revelation, he saw it demonstrated. And even that man caved in under pressure. Do you get it? And he sided with those who said, we still need circumcision. And at the end of the book, at the end of Galatians, Paul says, let me tell you this, let me set this for you. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing. So even to mess you up more. Because we could say, oh, Paul was standing for uncircumcision. And for those of you who don't understand the magnitude of that, to align yourself with God's covenant and the people of Israel, you had to be circumcised. You had to be circumcised. If you weren't, forget it. They're not going to talk to you. They won't even look at you. And it's it was a sign, it was a mark of the covenant. Then you were in, then you could align yourself with the, all the blessings that were to be upon the nation of Israel. So if you weren't circumcised, forget it. Paul says, so we could imagine that Paul, coming along now, is saying, we're going with the uncircumcision. We're with the uncircumcision party. And Paul says, no, that's not even it. Don't even get on that bandwagon. He said, because the only thing that matters is a new creation, is a new creature, is a new creation that was never there before. You're not a newly improved, you're not a used car that's just been completely, redone. No, you're a brand new substance that was never created before. Oh! A new, pure, uncreated substance before, now created in you, brand new. That's the new birth. We term this new heart, new life, new creation, new creature. Old things passed away. Old things gone. That's the power of the new creature. That has happened supernaturally by miracle, and your participation in it was your participation. Yes, your participation in it is vital, of course. But consider yourself to have been ambushed. Ambushed. Rescued. He rescued me when I didn't even know I needed rescuing. That's like a double ambush. That's like, now if you're in trouble, you need to be rescued. Yeah, but we don't understand how deeply in trouble. It's not even trouble. We're beyond trouble. We don't know how deep the infestation of sin was in us. We have no clue. Some of us have given we gave ourselves over before we knew the Lord, to addictive substances. And at one moment it crossed the line and this substance took us and owned us. You say cigarettes even, I was addicted to nicotine. I was addicted. I couldn't live without it. And I'm going, I was instantly delivered. The moment I was born again, I was delivered. I didn't even ask to be delivered. It was just gone. The desire was gone. That addictive thing that held was just gone. And I didn't even realize it until like 3 days later. I'm going, wow! I haven't even wanted one. Oh my gosh, and they're just walking around in shock. Shock factor. The shock factor has to, I'm just sharing my experience, but the magnitude of the deliverance that He has brought into the human nature, it's unfathomable. The Bible says we're slaves We were slaves before, and yet everybody felt, oh,